Welcome to Vedic Counsellor, where ancient Vedic wisdom meets modern scientific insight.
You know, in the huge world of Vedic astrology, you've got combinations that promise all sorts of success and good fortune, and then you have others that, well, they just sound a bit intimidating. Today, we're diving into one of those, Pishacha Yoga. It's a term you might hear whispered about, and for good reason. Think of it like a big, flashing karmic alarm bell in a birth chart.
So, here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll get straight to what Pishacha Yoga actually is. Then we'll look at the specific planetary setups that form it and what its effects really feel like in day-to-day life. But listen, we are not going to leave you hanging with the scary stuff. We're going to cover powerful Vedic remedies and wrap it all up with a much more hopeful way of looking at the whole thing.
Okay, let's jump right in. What on earth is Pishacha Yoga?
So the word Pishacha itself comes from Hindu traditions, and it refers to, well, restless spirits, sometimes even malevolent ones. So Pishacha Yoga is considered a really tough, inauspicious combination in a birth chart. It points to things like spiritual disturbances, deep-seated fears, and something called pret bada, which basically means trouble from unseen forces. And all of this is often thought to stem from unresolved karma, like curses or debts from a past life. Now, to really get the weight of this, it helps to see it in contrast. You hear a lot about Raja Yogas in astrology, right? Those are the amazing combos that bring power, prosperity, and success. Well, Pishacha Yoga is kind of on the polar opposite end of the spectrum. It has nothing to do with material things. Instead, it's all about facing these deep karmic debts and a kind of intense spiritual or psychological struggle. It's really a sign of a profound inner battle.
Okay, so how does a combination this intense actually get formed in someone's chart? Let's get into the astrological nuts and bolts.
Turns out it's not just one single formula. As you can see here, this yoga can form in a few different ways. The most classic one, the one you hear about most, is when Rahu and Saturn get together. That's often called Shrapit Yoga, or the cursed yoga. But it can also happen if the moon, which is your mind, remember, is really weak and getting hammered by other malefic planets. And there's even this super intense version with Mars and Ketu, which is said to create this fiery energy that just attracts these kinds of negative influences.
All right, we've covered the what and the how. But what does this actually feel like for a person who has this in their chart? Let's talk about the real-world impact.
The biggest impact really is on the mind. In Vedic terms, this is the manomaya kosha, the mind sheath. And this can show up as things like crippling anxiety, deep-rooted depression, or in some extreme cases, even symptoms like hallucinations or just terrifying persistent nightmares. The source material often describes it as a feeling of being possessed, or like you're not fully in control of your own thoughts. It's really heavy stuff.
And then the effects can start to feel a bit paranormal. We're talking about a constant nagging fear of the unseen, a feeling of being haunted or experiencing what's known as spirit attachment. This can even lead to patterns of sudden, bizarre accidents or unexplained blackouts, almost as if some outside force is messing with things.
And you know, that kind of spiritual turmoil doesn't just stay inside. It spills out into the real world, creating these massive roadblocks. Things like repeated failures, no matter how hard you work, sudden financial disasters that come out of nowhere, relationships that just fall apart for no clear reason, and even chronic health issues that doctors just can't seem to figure out.
So when you look at all of that, it's a lot. It's really easy to feel a sense of total dread. And the question that just screams out is that it? Is this a life sentence? Is there any way to fix it?
And here's the good news. According to Vedic wisdom, the answer is a huge, resounding no. Which brings us to the most important part of this whole discussion, the powerful remedies that offer a very clear path toward protection and ultimately peace.
The solutions are laid out in a really structured way, kind of like 4 pillars. The first pillar is deity worship, especially calling on powerful protectors like Lord Hanuman. Second is using specific mantra chants for the planets that are causing the trouble. Third, making some lifestyle adjustments and doing acts of charity. And the last pillar involves protective tools, like specific amulets or yantras, but it's always stressed that you need to get a proper consultation before just jumping into that one. So once you know there are solutions, it kind of changes everything, doesn't it? It lets us look at this entire idea from a totally different and, honestly, a much more hopeful point of view.
This right here, this is the real heart of the matter. Pishacha Yoga isn't meant to be a permanent curse you're stuck with forever. It's a karmic alarm bell. It's a loud, unmissable signal from the universe that some deep spiritual cleansing is required. It is, in its own way, a call to action.
So the big takeaway here is that the way forward is all about sincerity. Sincere worship, a consistent spiritual practice, and doing rituals for your ancestors. These are seen as being powerful enough to completely neutralize the negative stuff. The goal isn't just to get through it, it's to come out the other side with more peace, more clarity, and more spiritual protection than you have before.
And that leaves us with a pretty big thought to chew on. What if our toughest astrological placements, the ones that we're kind of programmed to fear, aren't actually curses at all? What if they're really just profound, personalized invitations, these powerful calls to action for our own spiritual growth?
If you found this video helpful, please consider subscribing to the channel Vedic Counselor. For personal astrology consultation, horoscope analysis, or Vastu consultation, you can contact us on WhatsApp 919219539215 or visit our website www.vediccounselor.com. Thank you for watching.